Good day guys, in this video we will learn about the elements of a short story. But before we start, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more updates. Before we discuss the elements, let us define its meaning. So, what is a short story? A short story is a work of short narrative prose that is usually centered around one single event. It is limited in scope and has an introduction, body, and conclusion. It is somehow similar with the novel, but the difference is that the short story is a short story and can be read in one sitting, unlike the novel that will demand more of your time. Now that we know its definition, let us talk about its 6 main elements: the setting, characters, plot, conflict, point of view, and lastly, the theme. So let's start with the first one, the setting. It is a description of where and when the story takes place. In a short story, there are fewer settings compared to a novel. The time is more limited. So to be able to answer the where and when questions, you should need to consider the place or the geographical location of where the action of the story being taken place. Next, you should also consider the time, or the historical period, the time of the day or the year. And you should also consider the weather conditions, if it is rainy, sunny, stormy. And also, you should also take a look at social conditions, or the daily life of the character, or their speech, mannerisms, customs. Lastly, you should also take a look at its mood or atmosphere. What is the feeling created at the beginning of the story? If it is bright and cheerful or dark and frightening. Let's proceed to the second one, which is the characters. By definition, character is a person or sometimes even an animal who takes part in the action of a short story. There are 2 main types of characters, the main characters and the minor characters. The main characters are those who are most important in the story, while the minor characters are usually static or unchanging. We also have the term called characters according to principality, and this consists of 2, which are the protagonist and antagonist. The protagonist is a character with whom the reader empathizes, or in other terms, the hero in the story, while the antagonist is the character that goes against the protagonist, or the villain in the story. We also have this term characters according to personality. That is whether the character is a round character or a character that displays multiple personalities throughout the story. Second, which is the flat character, or the character that reveals conventional traits or remains the same throughout the story. And still under characters, we also have this term characterization, or by definition, the method used by the author to reveal the personality of the character or the characters. The characters are usually revealed according to the actions of the character, the thoughts of the character, the descriptions of the character, the descriptions of other character, and the descriptions of the author. The next element is the plot, or the sequence of the events in the story. There are 3 kinds of plot, and these are linear plot, circular plot, and in medias res. The linear plot moves with a natural sequence of events where actions are arranged sequentially. Other terms, this is what we call traditional plot, wherein the story begins with exposition or normal introduction in a story. Next is rising action, or the start of the conflict. Climax, or the highest point or turning point in the story. Next, there is falling action, where the actions and complications begins to resolve. And lastly, denouement, or the final outcome or the ending of the story. The second one is the circular plot. It is a kind of plot where linear development of the story merges with an interruption in the chronological order to show an event that happened in the past. To further elaborate, the terms foreshadowing and flashback are usually used in this kind of plot. Foreshadowing is the clue given to the audience to give hint on what will happen next in the story, while flashback is the throwback to an event happened in the past to explain the current happening in the story. The third one is in medias res. It is a kind of plot wherein the story begins in the middle part of the action or begins in the climax of the story. The terms foreshadowing and flashback are also used in this kind of plot. Our next element is conflict. By definition, it is the opposition of forces which ties one incident to another and makes the plot move. There are two major types of conflict, which are external and internal conflict. The external conflict is a struggle with a force outside oneself, such as man versus man, wherein the character in the story has a problem with one or more characters. It is like Superman versus its enemies like Lex Luthor, Brainiac, and Bizarro, and many more. It can also be man versus society, wherein the character has a conflict or problem with some element of the society, like in the school, the law, and many more. Or it can also be man versus nature, wherein the character has a problem with some natural happening like snowstorm, typhoon, avalanche, or anything that is natural happenings. The internal conflict, however, is a struggle within oneself. This can be a person that must make some decision, overcome pain, resist an urge, or etc. Or we call it man versus self, where a character has trouble deciding what to do in a particular situation. The other element is the point of view. It is the angle from which the story is told. There are three main types of point of view, which are the first person point of view, the stream of consciousness, and the third person omniscient. In the first person point of view, the story is told by the protagonist or one of the characters who interacts closely with the protagonist or the other characters. It uses the pronoun I, me, or we. While in the stream of consciousness, the story is told so that the reader feels as if they are inside the head of one character and knows all their thoughts and reactions. Lastly, in the third person omniscient, the narrator tells the story from an all-knowing point of view. He can move from character to character, event to event, having free access to the thoughts, feelings, and motivations of his characters, and he introduces information where and when he chooses. The last element is the theme. By definition, it is the controlling idea or the central insight. It is the author's underlying meaning or main idea that he is trying to convey. Theme may be the author's thoughts about a topic or view of human nature. The common examples of theme include love, war, revenge, betrayal, patriotism, isolation, and many more. So that's it, the elements of a short story. I hope that you learned something about the elements of a short story after watching this video. If you like this video, don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to my channel. Have a good day. Bye bye.